Greetings. This live is about philosophy. I'm reading yet again Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. And I will be sharing some ideas from the book. I will be commenting on some ideas. So you are welcome if you like themes and topics regarding philosophy, personal development, personal growth, well-being, success, character, then this will be beneficial for you. Okay. So chapter 1, we are on chapter 1, the theme. Last time I covered the story of the oak tree that was the symbol of stability, safety, security, and then once lightning struck and the oak tree was split in half, and then the main one of the heroes in the book who was admiring that oak tree saw that the core of the tree was rotten long time ago. So the external grandeur, the sense of security, etc., it was all a myth. It was all he invented that. The core was gone. So it's a very powerful and beautiful metaphor, which can be applied to religion, to politics, to some philosophy as well. Like when you admire something, but then you discover that the core is rotten. There's something foul or something wrong, going on. So then after the oak tree, in the book, we have the following thing, and you are welcome to tap on the screen and leave comments. I'll respond to your comments as well. If you like philosophy, if you'd like to discover Ayn Rand, Yeah. Unfortunately, copyright stuff, I cannot read, passages from the book, but I will read and interpret or paraphrase some stuff for you guys, okay? And the following paragraph is about the way Eddie felt when he saw that oak tree fallen, and when he understood that the core was rotten. There was an immense sense of betrayal for him. And it was even worse because he couldn't understand what was betrayed. Was it the oak tree that betrayed him? He couldn't process, he couldn't understand his own feelings, like why was he feeling betrayal? But that's the trouble with Eddie Willers. He doesn't go to the core. He cannot, or maybe doesn't possess that mental capacity, or maybe that knowledge, although some of the other heroes, they just go to the core. So I couldn't say it's about some learned skill, So he felt betrayed, and he didn't talk to anyone. Another maybe little problem he has, he seems to be afraid of discussing very fundamental issues, or maybe he doesn't know how to. So let's just go ahead. So Eddie Willers is like, he is easily he's influenced by people. There is something missing at his core, some understanding, and here, this following paragraph also illustrates the issues of Eddie Willers. And yeah, TikTok tells me to encourage you to tap on the screen. So this is philosophy. We're reading Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged. Well, I'm paraphrasing some stuff because copyright wouldn't allow me to read it. So yeah, just paraphrasing. So here in the following paragraph, Eddie listened to his friend Dagny, who's the main hero or heroine in the novel. So when Eddie was asked what he would want to do, he answered, "Whatever is right," and said, "Whatever, you have to do something that is great." And he speaks with Dagny here. And then Dagny asks him, "What?" He says, "I don't know. We need to find that out. It shouldn't be just about making business and about earning. It should be something like winning battles or saving people or climbing mountains." So Eddie is after whatever is said to be right by the society. He just takes those formulas and he's like, "Oh, okay, the society tells me this is right, then I will try to do those things." Then Dagny asks him, "What for?" And they are kids. This conversation is happening in their childhood. Then Eddie answers, "The minister said that last Sunday. He said that we should always reach for the best within us." And then he asks her, "What do you think is the best within us?" She says, "I don't know." And he says, "We have to find that out." So Eddie is taking those formulas just as most of us. Yeah, we are told stuff, we are educated in a certain way, and we take that, we internalize it, and we just follow it. Eddie is one of those type of individuals, one of those characters who just takes ready-made formulas. Okay, the minister told me this, then, or other people are saying this is the right thing to do or the right way to be, etc., then I will follow that. Eddie is that type of a character. And this is why he has this mental fog. He isn't fully sure what he wants to do in life, or where to go, what to do, why. He has some unanswered questions. He doesn't want to or cannot go deep enough to ask himself those profound and super important questions. Next. So the next paragraph says that 22 years ago, Eddie said he needs to do whatever is right. And I love the language of Ayn Rand. He kept that statement unchallenged ever since. This is the problem with Eddie and with people like Eddie, when they are afraid to or do not want to go deep. Like when you ask them why, a lot of believers are like that, like, why do you believe, or why do you think your religion is the only true religion? They don't really have answers, and they're afraid to go deep, So Eddie is this type of guy. And to be honest, sometimes I'm thinking it might be about education, but in other cases, like when people invent stuff, well, Ayn Rand with her idea of a new philosophy, like the inventors, they don't take it from somewhere, they create it. So what I'm trying to say, some individuals have it and at a very young age they can already. Ayn Rand is a good example, because when you read her biographical stuff again, as a kid she had some very profound ideas. At a very young age she already knew what she wanted to do, etc. So I think it's not just about education, and although it's, even for me, it's a little uneasy to, it's not wanted, like we want to think in a socialist way, that all the minds have the same potential, just as all the light bulbs, and we, through education, through the right approach, through the right conditions, we can make everybody smart. So there is this intent, this desire to equalize, to create equality and equity, and treat everybody as equal. But on the level of intelligence and different forms of intelligence, emotional, etc., people are not equal. Like we have people with special needs. Sometimes we have children who are much smarter. So there is something probably biological going on as well. And although our society makes it uneasy for us to talk like this, because you are targeted, you are treated as someone who is trying to take away something from people with special needs, or you are treated as someone who believes in eugenics and crazy stuff like that. But you know, honesty is important, and just as hardware, like when you buy hardware, oh yeah, TikTok asks me to encourage you guys to tap on the screen and share the live, okay? And if you're interested to come up and have a conversation, you feel free to do so. So, hardware, like you cannot install any piece of software on any piece of hardware. Like if you take a laptop or a smartphone or an iPhone, that hardware, that piece of metal and plastic, needs to have certain things physically to be able to carry and make functional more advanced levels of software. Like for instance, if you take iPhone 1 and try to run the operating system of iPhone 15 on iPhone 1, you will have problems, right? Or if your smartphone is very old and you try to use Android version 16 on it, for instance, you'll encounter some problems. So I think that it's important to acknowledge those differences and admit that not all the minds are equal. Just as not all the light bulbs are the same. Some light bulbs give you more light because they are bigger or they have more capacity. Yeah, you cannot say, well, it's the same electricity, let's just give 200 watts to every light bulb. You cannot do that. For some light bulbs it might be too much, they may just explode, right? For other light bulbs it might be inadequate, too little, and they may malfunction as well. So Eddie Willers, this type of guy who doesn't want to or cannot question very profound things, and other types of people like Dagny Taggard, who has a sharper mind, maybe there is also difference in them in terms of their physical and mental abilities, like on the level of their body, maybe their genes. It's not about education, it's not about the environment. Yes, sometimes you have two kids from the same family. One may be super smart in terms of mental capacity, and the other one might be good at some other things, and he or she or they might not be a good fit for some STEM related career, right? All right, let's continue with Eddie Willers. So yeah, for 22 years, Eddie Willers was living with that conviction that he has to do whatever is right. But when you asked him what's right, he still couldn't answer that, even as an adult. Yeah, he just, okay, the minister told me this, or my parents told me that, or the society says so, so that should be the right thing. Or Dagny, with whom I am friends, whom I admire, she says that's the right thing, and then therefore I'll do that. It's his attitude. Other questions faded in his mind, so he was too busy to ask them. And for him, it was just self-evident that what was you had to do whatever was right. So some stuff seemed simple and incomprehensible to him. Yeah, there is this kind of mental fog about which Ayn Rand speaks in some of her lectures. So when you cannot or fail to or don't want to go deep or develop that mental toolbox, that mental software, and ask yourself very fundamental and important questions, you become Eddie Willers. Like you can have this causeless fear, anxiety about the future, about the present, and you might not know the reason. So this is why philosophy is important, beautiful, and if you have that mental capacity, you should try to use that. Do we have comments? No, seems like we have no comments. Yes, if I have comments, I will read them. Okay. Okay. The next big part of this introductory chapter is when Eddie Willers enters the Taggard building. He works there at Taggard Transcontinental. It's a train operating company. James Taggard is the president of the company. So here we also get to know James Taggard a little bit, and this is very interesting. I love Ayn Rand's fiction because we have so many levels, including psychological levels. Like we have descriptions of the characters of the novel at a very profound level. Sometimes it's just the dialogues, how they talk, what they say, what they avoid. And sometimes it's just, something very internal, like the way she described Eddie Willers. Yeah, it's just so full, so enriching. That level of detail, that level of profundity, like when you are allowed to dive into the mind and the psychology of the individual, that's very interesting for me, very precious. And the book is full of such psychological descriptions, and it's not just psychology, it's interpersonal relationships, it's the economy, like in terms of economy, capitalism, collectivism, so many interesting things going on in the book. Honestly, it's like it's a treat for an inquiring and curious mind. Reading this kind of stuff is so enriching. So let's learn a little bit about the qualities, the psychology of James Taggart. Okay. So James Taggart, he looked like a middle-aged man, and since his youth he looked like this. He had a small mouth, thin hair that clinged to his bald forehead. So even this description, like sometimes people try to copy or emulate or to look older, yeah? Even those little things, it's very important to read all of this. And Ayn Rand gives us all these details. And then the posture was limp, he was sloppy, decentralized, as if he was fighting his own tall, slender body. He had a body of an elegant body, which was intended for a confident posture of an aristocrat, but it was transformed into the cockiness of a lout. Some of the vocabulary is very heavy, you might not understand these words, some of them I don't understand either, but you get the main idea. So sometimes, the opposite can, you can have the good type of hardware, like good body, good genes, but again, you cannot just blame it on education or upbringing. I don't know. It's very interesting and multifaceted. So sometimes people may have the good hardware, but the software may suck, yeah? Although yes, I think education may play an important role, like the parents could send the kid to or through some private school, private university, and there the person might be indoctrinated with collectivist stuff. He might, especially if he gets some religious education. Thank you for the hearts, one heart, whoever what that was, guys. You can also tap on the screen. And a sense of guilt may be injected into the person through education, through parenting. So probably those things are also important. And maybe Taggard, James Taggard, fell victim to that. Although in theory he and his sister could have gone through the same stuff and end up separately. So it's not just one factor, it's not just one external factor, But the way he does not respect his own body, like he does not own it, yeah? That's an interesting description. His face was pale, eyes as well were pale and were veiled. That's an interesting description, veiled eyes, And his glance moved slowly and never quite stopped. And he glided off and past things in eternal resentment of their existence. The vocabulary of Ayn Rand. He looked drained. He was 39, but he looked like 50, yeah? He looked like a man approaching 50, although he was just 39. So this is the description of James Taggart. And now there is some conversation going on between James and Eddie. Two not very bright individuals, but both of them are from different civilizations, different mindsets. So the way James talks, the way Eddie talks, it also is very descriptive and interesting. This allows us to look, to see the characters and the values of these individuals deeper. So let's go through this a little for today. James looked up with irritation. And I'm changing a lot as I read. I change a lot so that, I respect the copyright and I don't just read it. So he says, James says, don't bother me 3 times. He says, don't bother me he says it to Eddie. Eddie just walks toward him and he says it's important. He doesn't raise his voice. And then James says, okay, all right, what is it? So this desire to avoid responsibility. James Taggard is someone who avoids responsibility. If something can be postponed, he will postpone it. If something can be avoided, he will avoid it. This is what we learn about James's character, you know? Then Eddie says that it's about the Rio Norte line. It's about one of the lines of the train company that they served. And again, Taggard's eyes, like James's eyes, are just moving. He just looks down instead of looking at Eddie. So he avoids stuff, you know. And Eddie informs James that they had another wreck. The answer of James Taggart, who's the president of this rail company, is railroad accidents are pretty common. And he's asking Eddie, was that it? Did you come here to bother me with that piece of information? And Eddie continues, he says, that line is done, it is done for. The line is in very bad shape. And James's response is, we're getting a new track. So again, he's not concentrating on the problem, he's not interested in really discussing the solutions, he just goes to somewhere else, right? And Eddie continues, he kind of disregarded the last response by James about a new track. He says that track, the existing track, is in a pretty bad condition. And we shouldn't try to run trains on that track. People are starting to refuse to use the trains running on that track. Then James says, all the railroads in the country have branches like that with problems. We are not the only ones. It is, and he uses the word condition, it is a national condition, he says. A temporary national condition. The words, I love Ayn Rand because politicians love to use these words, and James is part of politics. So first he says it's a national condition. Look at the choice of the words, you know. He doesn't say it's a problem, it's a common problem. He uses this vocabulary and those terms which are politically correct or neutral, you know, and then adds the word temporary. It's a temporary national condition, you know. Politicians, religious figures, they love these terms. Yes, it's just temporary. It will go away. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, we have this problem, but it's not really a problem. Yeah, the prices are going up, but it's a little bit. Just belittling things, avoiding responsibility. James Taggart is one of those individuals. This bad rich guy / politician. And some people think that Ayn Rand is mostly about defending the rights of the rich against the poor, but in the works of Ayn Rand, we also have some individuals who are poor, who are rich and they are bad. Okay, so Ayn Rand does not just automatically defend any rich person for being rich. Okay, give me a moment, I'll be back. So, yeah, James Taggart is one of those individuals. He's rich, he's influential, he's powerful, but he's bad. He inherited the wealth, and Ayn Rand doesn't portray him as heroic, good because he's rich. So some people just oversimplify Ayn Rand's philosophy, and they think that, well, Ayn Rand is just promoting the interests of the rich for being rich. That's false. And James Taggart is one of those bad, negative characters who is also rich. And there are also other characters who are rich but also bad. So, yeah. Let's continue. So, James Taggart disliked about Eddie Willers the fact that he had this habit of looking straight into people's eyes. So I think that too is just showing the unwillingness of the person to face things the way they are. It's a special caste of people who deny the very fundamentals of reality. Individuals who don't want to explore the universe. They have their own understanding or their own ignorance, and they're not interested in learning about stuff. They are just interested in asserting their own theories. And often with people like James Taggart, the theories are like nothing is absolute, everything is fake, all is temporary, we are in a matrix, etc., etc. Yeah, okay, let me try and connect. Let's see if we can connect with some individuals who might be interested in discussing philosophy, although it's not always easy on TikTok. But I'll just give it a try. Let's see. They are mostly interested in their...
Tu papi Muñano what?
I cannot hear you well.
The battle?
Say that again.
You want a match? Can we do it?
I don't have many followers. Are you interested in a conversation or just matches?
Conversation. All right, delete the match. End it.
Okay, so shall I leave you?
Never mind. Never mind. Forget it. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's up with y'all? Where you from?
Yeah, I'm originally from Armenia. I'm in Los Angeles right now. How about you?
Big head. You got a big head.
You're pretty big yourself, and this area is pretty big. So.
What's big? I'm beautiful. I'm flawless.
Oh, okay. And my big head is beautiful too. So how about you? Are you in the US or Mexico or somewhere else?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
I've given up. I'm done with love.
Talking about philosophy, have you heard of Ayn Rand? Is the topic interesting? Shall we talk about that? Or not?
No. This is my life. This life.
Okay, I'll just continue with someone else. Bye bye. It's really not easy to find people who are interested, in those topics. I'll try a little more. If not, I'll just continue. Oh, thank you, whoever that is. Thank you very much. You guys, yes, thank you for the hearts and for the taps. This might help, by the way. Who knows? Maybe we could come across individuals who are interested in these topics: education, personal development, success, philosophy, well-being, self-knowledge. So thank you for the support. I'll try a little more. If not, I'll just go ahead. Yeah, it's not easy. Okay, let's just continue. Thank you, OS International. Okay, so let's continue with James Taggard and Eddie Willers. Okay. So Taggart asks him, "What do you want?" And Eddie says that I am here to tell you something important. Yeah? You had to know this. You're the president of the company. And James says, like, you came here to tell me that we had another accident? And Eddie says, no. I'm here to tell you that we cannot give up the Rio Norte line. It's very important. It's a very important line for the company. And Taggart says, who is thinking of giving up that line? There was no consideration of giving that line up. I hate that you're saying it. I don't like it at all. And he uses the word I resent. Yeah, but as I speak, I change some of the words so that, yeah. And Eddie says, but we haven't met a schedule for the last 6 months. And every time we run a train, there is some problem, either a major issue or a minor one. We are losing the shippers, the clients. How long can we last? And then James, yet again, changes the subject. He says, you are a pessimist, Eddie. You don't have enough faith. That's what undermines the morale of this organization. And Eddie just continues. He has this, good ability. At least if Eddie cannot go very deep in philosophical issues, on professional matters, he is straightforward. He knows how not to fall victim to manipulations. So he asks James that you mean to say that nothing will be done about this line? And James said, hey, haven't said that. And James likes the expression at all. He says, I haven't said that at all. Just when we get the new track. And then Eddie continues to press. He says, Jim, a new track will not be built because we're losing our current tracks, no? And the people, actually the friends of James Taggart, the president, who had to bring more steel for the railroad, they will not be giving the steel. So Eddie Willers spoke to the Office of Associated Steel, to a guy, another rich person who is a negative character, Oren Boyle, and he says that Oren Boyle gave no straight answer. Just like James, you know, there's this caste, this group of people, politicians, some businessmen, dishonest ones, yeah, who are avoiding straight talk, who can say sentences for a long time, lots of sentences, and you cannot hear the answer to the actual question. Yeah, they will not address the topic at hand. So Oren Boyle is yet another person like that. And James is like, why did you bother my friend Oren Boyle? I think they had to deliver the steel next month. And Eddie reminds him, well, before that, they had to deliver the first part of the steel 3 months ago. And James says, well, it's just unforeseen circumstances. Again, beautiful words, but, you know, blurry, ambiguous stuff. And he says it's absolutely beyond Oren's control. And Eddie says, well, before that, it was due 6 months earlier. So 13 months overall, they have been waiting for Associated Steel to provide new materials for building new railroads, and it wouldn't just come. And James says, what do you want me to do? I can't run Oren's business. So Taggard is just avoiding, you know, the stuff. So Taggard is this other character whom we see a lot throughout the book. So we have Eddie Willers, one type of character, and we have another one, James, another type of character. We have seen also Oren Boyle, a rich guy who is also important. Then we'll get to know some other characters as well. So the characters of Ayn Rand are so rich. It's so interesting to discover their mindsets, motivations, sources of motivation like behavior, interests, etc. So that's it for today, and we will continue next time. Okay, if you like topics related to personal development, and again, I was reading Atlas Shrugged from Ayn Rand. If you like this kind of stuff, you can subscribe so that you do not miss my future lives. Okay, thanks a lot and see you next time. Bye bye.